If Saturday morning cartoons fueled your imagination as a kid and powers your action figure collecting now as an adult, then you're in the right place. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome to Saturday Morning Toy Collector.
And if you like my content, please consider subscribing.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Meet the Collector. Thank you guys for tuning in to all of the episodes and all of the comments and all the likes that we've been getting. I really, really appreciate it. Without you guys supporting this and watching this, I wouldn't be able to do it. And I am so excited for my guest. You already know who it is because you guys have already seen the thumbnail, so you clicked it so you know what's going on. I'd like to welcome Cloud Foxwell to the show. Cloud, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. I love this stuff. This is great.
This is amazing. I have seen your name around the Cabal for years. I've heard people like Jeremy and the Four Horsemen of Clock guys like mention you and talk about you, but you were like this mythological person that existed, but I didn't know, and I didn't even know what you looked like, and I never like clicked on your profile and checked it out. I just saw there's another post. I was like, man, she's everywhere. She's everywhere. Like I never clicked to get to know you. And then when I was walking by this last year at Legion's Con, and I had already clicked on your picture, so I knew what you looked like. And I saw you in the lobby, and I was like in mid conversation with somebody, and I just had to stop and say, this is it. This is my chance. So I introduced myself. You were so gracious because I think you were talking with somebody else too at the same time or whatever. So this is my chance to like get to finally sit down and know you, and I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And you guys will probably know Cloud from around the Cabal. If you're a Mythic Legions fan and you're in the Cabal, then you know who Cloud is already. And I just learned this myself, but if you are a fan of Dan Who and who isn't, you can catch Cloud every other Sunday on their, what did you say? It's Legions and Liquor or...
Legends and Liquor. Legends and Liquor, and we have Legions and Liquor inside of that.
Nice. That's very cool. So, I mean, we all know who Dan Who is, and I did not know you were a part of that crew. I don't watch a lot of live streams, which is terrible. I should watch more because I do so many myself, but I should, I also draw comics, and people always say, well, what's your favorite comic book to read? And I'm like, I don't have time. I'm making my own. I have no time to watch, to read others. But yeah, so awesome. We're just going to dive right in. We're going to get to it. And yeah, I can't wait to hear all your answers. So throw me some curveballs. I'm looking forward to it. So we're going to start at the very beginning. What was your favorite figure growing up?
Oh, I had a lot. As a child, I started where, I mean, most people our age started, He-Man, and the Masters of the Universe, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Silverhawks. I had all of those, but I recall my brother and I were in some department store, it may have been a Walmart or something, with our grandfather. And I spotted on the pegs the Toy Biz Wolverine action figure. It was the first one with the brown costume, and he didn't move with the arms, the claws popped out. And I had no idea who that was. I knew nothing about the X-Men. I really didn't know too many Marvel comics outside of like the big hits like Captain America, the Hulk, Spider-Man, the stuff that had the shows in like the 60s and 70s.
Right.
But I saw this guy and I was just like, that's really cool. I want this. And buying that figure led me to reading the comics, learning more about them. It pulled my brother in. And so we were all about the X-Men, and that led us to Ghost Rider. It led us into Spawn. So the early Toy Biz Marvel figures were probably my most precious thing. I still have him. There's a display back here of old Wolverine, and he's up top right about there. But I still have him from 1991. I think I was 9 years old when I bought that figure.
Nice. I absolutely remember that figure because his head had a mask that was like a ring. It looked like a ring, exactly. Right? Like you could wear it as a ring, but you could also slide it over his face. And I remember the claws popping out. One of my very first figures as well was a Wolverine brown suit, yellow and brown suit. The only Wolverine suit that should ever be made, in my opinion. I literally fell out of my seat in Deadpool and Wolverine when he showed up in the woods wearing that.
Yes.
And I was like, yes, that was so good. I loved it. But mine was from Secret Wars in the 80s. and they
I
made that
remember.
figure. And so I had to buy two recently when Marvel Legends put them back out. It's like one is staying on that classic card, and one is open. I've got to play with this guy. He looks amazing. So yeah, we
I
share that in
actually
common.
have um, on this wall behind my Galactus, I have the brown suit Marvel Legends Wolverine carded on like that classic Marvel, and he's
Mm-hmm.
actually autographed by Hugh Jackman. He was
What?
filming. I worked for a company in a town called Mineola, which is about half an hour from where I am now on Long Island. And the office building that they had floors in, Hugh was filming Bad Education. So they were on like the second and third floor. So, of course, my friend Ron hears about this. He's like, Wolverine's here and people are going to go meet him. And we kind of like stalked the lobby. We met him. And then I saw him almost every day, like when they were in and out, and I'd wave to him. And I carried that thing around in my book bag for days, working up the courage to ask him to autograph it. And somebody outside stopped him. So I was like, there's my chance. And I walked up and I said, can I ask you to sign this for me? I'm like a big fan and you do the character so much justice. I love it. And he was like, yeah, no problem. Signed it, so it's on the wall, autographed forever. It's one of my favorite pieces.
That's incredible. He seems like a genuinely nice person to fans. I've never met him, but I've seen that. And I see you got the black and white Punisher back there too, right next to him. Yep. I love that figure. That thing
Another
is
favorite.
classic. All right, this is not part of the 20 questions, but I got to ask you because you're such a Wolverine fan. If he were to step away, which he may not be, but if he were to step away, who would you like to see fill his shoes now?
Honestly, I did not know who he was going into the X-Men films. That was my first exposure to this gentleman as an actor, and I think he did a fantastic job. It's a very interesting role to fill. It's one of those things that like somebody has to do it, and you have to make it like an opinion off of it. After Deadpool and Wolverine, I'd love to see Cavill, like what he could really do with the role, because it was such a short little appearance, but I felt like he looked the part. He had the presence that was just like, I really don't want to deal with you right now, that Wolverine has. I'd like to see what he could do in a full role.
We are going to get along famously because I heart Wolverine. That was incredible. I just love Henry Cavill. Like, full stop. I don't care what he's in. I'm there. I'm watching it. I would love for him to continue being Superman. That's a heartbreaker for me, but whatever. But yeah, like I would love that. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe just get an unknown, just get somebody that nobody really knows and just let him make it his own. Okay, cool. So, somewhere between being a kid and like going to high school and going to college, we all go through that phase where we're like, I'd rather go ride skateboards or bikes. And then we discover, love and relationships and, other things get in the way. And I call this the dark times because we all kind of seem to go through it. Some of us are lucky and didn't, but assuming that you went through a period like that where you weren't collecting, was there something that drew you back to collecting after that period? What figure got you back into it after all of that?
So I will say I never stopped. This has always been something that I enjoyed. My oldest friend is Derek from Spiro Toys, and we spent our entire summers sprawled out on the floor playing with action figures. It's something I've always, and I think we were like 14, 15 at the time, so we were getting into that high school age. I slowed down at a few points for various reasons. I moved around a lot. I was out on my own as of 18, so trying to worry about work and where I was going to sleep for the night kind of put a halt on it, but I always had something with me. I still have like my original Raphael Ninja Turtle, my original Wolverine figures. Like I've carried them with me, but life, says no sometimes, and you kind of have to like dial it back. So I never really stopped. It just kind of got put on pause. But I was collecting well into the Toy Biz Marvel Legends line. I thought those were great, and over time they just kind of didn't have the same charm. Like the quality wasn't there, so I just stepped away. We did all sorts of things. I collected the McFarlane Assassin's Creed figures he put out. We've got a lot of pop vinyls because they did everything. So we've got boxes of those. Figma was a big thing for me and my wife. what brought me back big time was I saw the Hasbro Marvel Legends Domino and X-23 in her X-Force costume at the GameStop I worked at. I was like, these are great. I'm going to buy them and just, I'll hang them on the wall, because I was still had the sour taste in my mouth from the end of the Toy Biz era. I was just like, all right, well, they look cool enough. And then I saw the yellow costume Wolverine from the Apocalypse Wave. I was like, you know what? I'm going to get it to open it. He'll live on my desk. He'll come with me to work. And seeing just how much they had improved, I was just like, oh, wow, okay, I'm back. And I was chasing older figures. I was watching the newer ones. During 2020, at the height of COVID, when we were all stuck inside, I was looking at YouTubers. I was watching reviews for figures I didn't have. I was looking at live streams, and that's how I came across Dan Who. And I stuck around. We started doing live streams, and I was knee deep in it. So that's probably the moment where it came back. I mean, at the time I had a career, so I had the money. We have a house, so I've got the space to collect. I mean, the room's getting a little crowded, but I still have this space. Marvel Legends led to streams, led to meeting people like Trevor Williams, 1/6 Shooter, who got me into Mythic Legions. So Trevor, if you're watching this, it is all your fault. And that was like the big catalyst, but I don't think I ever really stopped entirely. I was never ashamed of being a giant nerd when I was a kid.
Yeah, I never was ashamed, but yeah, there was just something, I think when I discovered video games, it was never like that I discovered like girls or skateboarding or anything. It was nothing like that. It was when I discovered video games, like that's when it really shifted for me. And I was like, I'm all about video games now. And I still am. Yeah. I'm a huge gamer. But it was video games for sure. And that's really cool that your oldest friend is Derek. Growing up, my best friend was a guy named Derek, and we were best friends from second grade all the way through college, and then we just kind of drifted apart. And now I have a friend named Randall, who I now look back, I'm now 48, and I look back and I'm like, man, I now know you longer than I knew Derek, which is crazy to think. But yeah, my oldest friend, we're still friends. We're friends on Facebook, and we bump into each other from time to time, and we'll chat. But yeah, my oldest friend is Derek. That's really cool. That's awesome. Do you have any, I have to do this personally. Do you have any rules or collecting like guidelines that keeps your your collecting focused?
I try. I have three of these big displays full of Marvel Legends. That was like my primary focus. And then Mythic Legions came along and I got really pulled into that. I have Alithia next to me over here. She was fabulous. The one that did it. She was the one that, and anybody that's in the Cabal knows I have the Alithya's Brood tattoo on my side.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome! So you're like the president and CEO of the Alithya's Brood. Whoa, check that out! It's amazing.
So she was the one that kind of did it for me. I was aware of the line for a while. I was like, I like it. It's fantasy. It's elves and orcs and monsters. But it wasn't until like other people started kind of pulling my attention into that. So because I got so heavy into that, I started trying to dial back in other areas. Like I'm like, all right, I should be a little bit more selective with my Marvel Legends. I like the mutants and the X characters. I'll focus on those. I'm trying to limit the classified that I get. It's also, I just don't have the space for any of this stuff. I've got so many things in boxes that it's like, why do I have this? You know, I bought it. It was on display for a while. I looked at it a couple of times and now it's packed away. So it's that space restriction helps, but I am trying to limit it to just like the Four Horsemen products with an occasional exception. Like we have to get, my wife is a massive Final Fantasy VII fan. So the two of us collect and they're expensive. So we have to make the exceptions for those. She is huge Legend of Zelda fanatic. So she has all of like the Zelda Figma. So we collect those as they come out. So we make our exceptions, but I've been trying to be better about focus on your main line because you're not going to have a place to put any of these.
Yeah. So it sounds like as long as the toy line has the initials ML, you're down for it. Marvel Legends, Mythic Legions, you're down.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, that's most of my initials as well as ML. Would you say you've got more Marvel Legends or Mythic Legions?
Oh, many, many more Marvel Legends.
Okay.
I started, The Apocalypse Wave may have been 2017 or something like that. So I started picking up then, and then getting into the community and seeing all of the old. I have this problem where if I get into something, I go back. And I'm like, I want to get all this stuff I missed. So I did that with Marvel Legends. I did it with Mythic Legions. But I've got these 3 big displays. I mean, they're not huge, but they are. This one here, the top and the first 2 are just Wolverine. But the rest of them on the other side are filled. And I have a gigantic box of characters I have retired for different reasons. Like a better version has come out. One that's like a preferred costume. So I have a huge box of them in the guest room. So definitely, I've never counted. I did count my Mythic Legions at one point. I don't remember what I'm at. Never counted Marvel Legends, and I'm afraid to, because that is going to be a huge number.
Yeah, same. So if I ever come and stay in your guest room, I'm probably going to be opening those tubs and playing with the figures. I have a couple of shrines myself. I have a Spider-Man shrine. My largest shrine is Batman's my favorite character, so I have a massive Batman collection. And then Wolverine is probably third. He's not my third favorite character. That would probably be Hellboy. I love Hellboy. I have a Hellboy tattoo on my arm. Mike Mignola's work is just incredible. But as far as like toys, probably third favorite character is like Wolverine. He does it for me, bub. I have to do this as well. I am, of course, like yourself, I'm married. I've got 3 kids. So, I have to do this, but do you set a budget for yourself? Do you give yourself like an allowance, or is this,
No.
I have to.
So I don't have children, so it's just us and the cats. We are very, very.
They could run up bills just like kids can.
But on that, we are very fortunate to live with a friend who takes care of us. Like when I lost my job, it's not like I couldn't stay here. He doesn't charge us rent. We don't have bills and stuff, so we pretty much take care of ourselves. So then I have the money to kind of indulge in these things that I really like. But like I mentioned earlier, when I get into something, I go a little heavy, and I did that, and I went back, and the Cabal was amazing to me. I got a lot of like great figures at like retail prices, if not less than that. Like they really helped, but I kind of spent a lot. And then all the waves that came in, like All-Star 6 was my first all-in, and then Ox Crew was an all-in, and Ashes of Agmador was an all-in. It's just kind of spiraled out of control. But March of last year, I lost my job, so it was very limited. My wife is working, so we do have an income to do this a bit. It's not so much that I set a budget, but it's because of how tight it is. That's kind of helping me limit it to what I really, really like. So it's, Mythic Legions and not as much Classified and not as much Action Force and things like that. So it's kind of forced, but I don't. I try to be good, and I try to look at something and be like, is this something that I really, really want, or is it just something that somebody else said was cool and I'm excited to check it out myself?
Yeah, I fall into that trap a lot. I'll if it's been a dry spell, if it's been like 2 or 3 weeks and I haven't bought anything, then I start looking at stuff around me in stores going, maybe I give that a shot. I don't like Dragon Ball Z, but maybe I'll buy that for no apparent reason. And then 3 weeks from now, I'll be like, why did I buy this? Like, I don't know what toy shopping is like. I'm trying to remember what Trevor said, because I know you guys don't live far away from each other. I don't know what the toy store shopping is like in Long Island versus like New York proper, like New York City. But what would you say your percentage is of toy hunting? Like, is it online versus like store shopping?
At this point, it's all online. We do have, I think I have like 2 or 3 targets within a short drive. When I was still into the Marvel Legends and I would go hunting for the Walgreens exclusives, I could hit like 7 of them on my way home from work. They don't have corner. Anything.
They don't. No, we have a Walgreens literally like 3 minutes from our house, and I swear to God, people think I'm joking. They still have the Star Wars Black Series wave from Force Awakens, like Constable Zuvio. Goodness. They've got Constable Zuvio in there for $24.99, and I'm like, who's buying this? Like,
it's terrible. No, those big stores don't really have anything. I do. Sometimes I'll do Amazon for convenience, but Big Bad Toy Store is a big one because of their pile of loot.
Yeah.
And then ordering now direct from the Four Horsemen. I do have a local shop. It's probably between where Trevor and I live from each other. There's a record store at one end, which is fantastic, and then there is the collectible store. It's called Chosen One Collectibles. It is in West Babylon, New York. I think they have a website, but that's where I would go for a lot of the older Marvel Legends figures at the time. She carries imports and things like that. She is not a Mythic Legions retailer, but I think she was looking into it. So I have to catch up with her on that. Jeremy gave me some information for her. But it's a small shop. It's very tight in there, but they've got a lot of good stuff. It's just when I'm limiting myself to try to do this one thing and they don't carry it, it keeps me just ordering from my phone or from my computer.
There is a really awesome toy store in Atlanta, Georgia, in an area called 5 Points, I believe it's what it's called. And they have a really awesome store that is a record shop in the front. So when you walk in the door, it's all records and vinyls and stuff like that. And then as you make your way to the back, it's a full-blown comic book store and action figure collectible shop. So it's really cool.
Those are great. Yeah.
So yeah, those are really awesome too. So you've talked a little bit about your room and your collection. So where is the room that you're in now in your house? Like where is that?
So my wife and I have the upstairs. There is at the west end is our bedroom. We've got our bed, we've got our TV, our video game consoles. There are collectibles displayed in there. There's a bathroom. We have our own private bathroom. The wall opposite me is the guest room. And we've got I think it's just like a full-size bed. I had my drum kit set up in there at one point, and I want to put that up there. But right now it's a lot of storage, a lot of boxes of packed up figures. And then there's this room on this side. And it was unfinished when we moved in, but my wife painted it. You can't really tell, but the walls are like a deep red. There's the vinyl, wooden kind of flooring on there. So this is specifically my room. My collectibles go in here. I do my photography in here. I have in the corner, I have a guitar and an amplifier. So this is my little space, but it's reasonably sized. I think only Trevor and Stefan Detour Customs have been in here to actually see it. But the ceiling on this side slopes, so it's limited how high up I can go on that side. But it works. I've got some plans to move things around, but this is my sacred space.
Oh yeah, it's always good to have one. The room I'm in is when I got a new job 3 years ago, and it's a full work from home job, and so we needed. So this was a portion of our living room, and we walled it off. So I've got a door I can shut, and so this is my work. I have a workstation over there where I work. Next to that's a video game station where I play my video games, and then this side over here is my computer workstation, just solely for YouTube and reviews. And so yeah, this is my little this is my quiet space. This is my mind palace that I like to come and visit. And
good to have. It's good to have.
When I start to have spiraling thoughts, I just reach. I'm like, what is in reach? Oh, it's this guy. Let me think about when I was a kid and I loved,
the
garbage pail kids, so I always have something in reach, be like a little plundering or even like a little Hot Wheels car. It's just, I have to fidget with stuff. I have to mess around with something every day, mess around with it. Oh, little Mega Man. Is that is that Jada Toys?
It is Jada. And I've got, not within reach, but I've got the Street Fighter 2 line. I've got everything they've put out so far. They are killing it. But yes, I've got cases with Mythic Legions. I have the classified Big Boa and the original G.I. Joe Big Boa. I've got little figures. I have what are these? These Glyos types, Knights of the Slice.
Nice.
SHF. I've got my Gold Plunderling. I've got lots of Mythic Legions. I've got some Final Fantasy stuff. So I get it. There's just stuff everywhere.
Yeah, I have to have something within reach at all times to mess around with.
Yep.
I don't have any Glyos, but I consider myself very Gly curious. I think I'm about ready to take a dive. Recently, Bill from Dorklair sent me a link. I was like, if I want to jump into Glyos, where should I start? And it was I think Mighty Maniacs or something like that. I think was the line that he sent me, and I was like, oh, these are awesome because there's a lot of 80s nostalgia in those lines. They have a Terminator and old creatures, and one that just recently came out that looks like Devastator and
Yep.
they've got ninjas and stuff. Like, I'm down for that. Like, so I think I may be finally getting into some Glyos. Yeah, I agree with you. Jada Toys is killing it with Street Fighter. I love, like, I've been mostly getting them online, but every once in a while I'll catch a new one in my Target. And yeah, I like, I don't even need a Street Fighter collection. I don't particularly love Street Fighter. I mean, I like the game, but I like Mortal Kombat better. It's not something I need, but I like, it's so good and they're so cheap. I can't not buy them.
Yeah.
Like I literally can play with one of those things for like 3 days straight before I'm like, okay, you're going in a tub, but it's okay. I'll pull you back out and take pictures of you again later. I can probably already know the answer to this from what I can see, but what would you say the percentages of your collection in package versus open?
About 90% open, because I do have some that I specifically like. Over here, the Iron Man and War Machine, and then the cell shaded Spider-Man and Venom. There was the Wolverine and the Punisher. Who else is over there? I think that's a Scarlet Witch and then a Deadpool. Just like those in particular, like very nostalgia driven for me. So I was like, they'll be nice on the wall. Like that Wolverine, I specifically bought 2 of to have one out to play with, and then I ended up getting it signed, so it's even more special now. I do keep certain packaging of like import figures and stuff, things with a lot of little pieces, things that I want to make sure are okay when we move. I've moved so much, I'm still in that headspace of like, I'm not going to be here for too long. I shouldn't, although I need to get away from that, but I do have lots of boxes and stuff. I have all of my Mythic Legions boxes, and I don't know why. They're all just in the basement, but I like to be able to take things out. I like to be able to play with them and just really look at them and appreciate them. I've been getting into photography, so I like to take pictures of these things. So the majority of it is definitely buying these things to open them, with a few exceptions of this would look cool hanging on the wall.
Yeah, unless it's got like some commemorative packaging, like if they do a throwback retro card, you know, I'll buy a few of those and I keep them in package, especially if I don't need to open the figure. If something comes along that I have to get, like, say, like from Super 7, like reaction figures, their card art is so beautiful. Like, I don't want to throw that away. And also I'm like, well, I don't necessarily need to open it and play with it. It's 5 POA. Like, it's not going to do a lot. I'd rather have it on card and just have it as a display piece. So yeah, I feel you with the Mythic Legions packages too. I'm like, I don't need them, but I keep them anyway. And then like after about a year, I'm like, why did I keep these? And I'll purge and I'll throw them all out. And then a year later, I've got like 60 new ones, and I'm like, I gotta go toss them again. I keep the little inserts and cut the little bio card off, but I just end up tossing them. I'm okay. If I, if somebody really wants the figure, I've kept it nice. I don't need the packages for that.
It's not going to make or break it.
Right. Probably already know the answer to this question, but it's one of the 20. I got to ask it. What is your preferred scale? I probably already know the answer.
112.
Yeah. Seems like everything is going that way.
It just goes back to when I was a kid, and when Derek and I were playing with our figures, they all were in a similar scale. So it seems to be like they kind of, most of those lines stuck there. And like, granted, a Marvel Legends figure is much bigger than a Toy Biz figure, but like that's the scale that they went with. So that's the scale I like everything to kind of associate with. I have some Final Fantasy stuff that I guess is technically 1/6. Like they've just gotten so much bigger. So I collect them, but it's not because of their scale. It's because Sephiroth is my favorite. Everybody thinks Cloud is my favorite because we have the same name, and no, it's Sephiroth. But it wasn't like an act of like I want it because of the size of it. It's like I want it because of who it is. But it's nice to be able to. I don't cross lines, but for some reason in my head I want to be able to do that. Like the Marvel Legends and the Street Fighter for like Marvel Capcom, and like throw some G.I. Joe in there. I don't do that, but it's nice to have the option, and that just goes back to how I played as a child.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw this week that there's like this new company, and I can't remember their name, but they're making like really detailed villains from RoboCop. I don't think they got the license to make RoboCop himself, so they're only making the villains from the movies, not like the old cartoon or the old toy line. And they're making them 1/10 scale. And I'm like, why would you do that? That makes no sense. Like, was that the licensing deal? Is that it couldn't be like a 1/6 or it couldn't be a 1/12 or, was that it? Because like, dude, if like these figures look great, but they're 1/10, I'm like, I can't put that into my NECA like RoboCop line. Like it's not going to work. But
No.
yeah. What was the last action figure that you bought that you have currently on your desk or in your office?
That I bought or that I received?
Let's do received. What was the last one you got?
Beluelith.
Oh,
She was my
she's
second
amazing.
Mythic Legions pre-order, and like I said, I had been aware of the line. It was actually Cosmic that got me to start pre-ordering. It was Ziri. Ziri Inspire was my first direct order, and then I saw Thrace and was like, she looks really cool. Maybe I'll just get her. And then when Necronominus came around, I was paying attention to it, and I pre-ordered her because I thought she's so cool. Even without her nose, she's beautiful, and I like the little animals she comes with. And I went to look back at my my retailer pre-orders, and it was January of the following year. So it was like immediately afterwards. I was like, I'm in, and I want the rest of these. So, but she was a figure I've had my eye on for a couple of years now, and she was the last one to show up. And
I don't know what it is, man, but blue-skinned women, it just does it for me. You make a blue-skinned girl, I'm buying that figure. And you're right, she does look beautiful, even without the nose. I don't even like. I'm glad that they included that head. Like maybe you could use it on like a pop and swap, but like she's going on my shelf with no nose because that's pretty dope. Yeah, I can't wait to get her. I have her coming. I cannot wait. So yeah, I just love everything like the little dragon, like it's just like a little dragon like in the bird cage, right? And then there's like the dog that she comes with, and she comes with so many little familiars. Yeah. Oh, the snake. That's right. The snake is in there. Doesn't she come with like a little dragon on her arm or something? A little bone something? Bone bird. That's right.
Yep. Yeah. And then the Chimera. And these are 1.0 heads. So you can pop these onto like pretty much anything. It doesn't have a ton of articulation, but it's enough. I did take a photo of her not too long ago with this in it. They take so well, but I love her.
Yeah, I think fantastic. I saw Bill from Dorklair took that neck off of the Chimera and put it on his Terpiculi and has not removed it. He's like, nope, this guy is two-headed from here on out. And I love that. Probably know the answer to this too. What's your current favorite toy line?
Mythic Legions. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like very four horsemen, but particularly mythic. I love Cosmic. I love the Figura Obscura line, but it's all Alethea's fault. I mean, I wasn't even collecting a year when I went and got this tattoo and was showing everybody at my first Legions Con in 23. And I told Eric, I'm like, oh, I started this year. And he's like, you've been collecting for a year and you got a tattoo? I'm like, it's so charming. They're beautiful. They're so pleasant to look at. I don't really do a lot of pop and swap, but the options are fantastic. I have made a couple of customs that way. This is probably my favorite.
That's awesome. I bet he was really impressed. I mean, or taken aback that somebody would like his artwork would wind up on somebody's body as a tattoo.
And it was Eric and Nate together. And right. So that was great.
Very nice. Yeah. I have a tattoo on my arm based on something that I drew like from one of my comic books. And so people ask me all the time. Oh, nice. Very cool. What's your current favorite figure?
Oh, recency bias. Beluelith.
Yeah.
Probably my favorite. Prior to that, it was probably the Jada Toys Cammy. She's always been my favorite Street Fighter character.
I literally just opened her like 2 weeks ago, and she is so fun to pose. Like I was doing a pose video for like TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, and I couldn't stop. I was like 30 pictures in. I was like, I got to stop. Like there's literally nothing you can't do with her. She is action figure perfection, 100%. I don't know if you saw the interview with Darius, but he was like, it's hard to answer that question. He's like, my favorite figure changes every time I touch a new one. He's like, this one's my favorite. Now this one's my favorite. Nope. Now this one's my favorite. And I was like, yeah, mine changes every few days. Definitely. It's like, and recency bias plays in a lot with that for sure. It's like whoever's newest is best, but cool. Awesome. Well, we have gotten through the first 10 and it was quick. It was painless. We got through it. We did it. This is so much fun. I knew it would be, but I just want to take a little break right here, a little intermission, and give you a chance to like tell everybody where they can find you. If you want to share any of your socials, this is the time to do so. I'll run it down below at the bottom. So where can we find you online?
So, like I mentioned, I'm a regular on the Dan Who Reviews YouTube channel. We do a members only stream after his every Thursday show. So if you're a channel member, I'm usually there hanging out with them. Every other Sunday, we do Legends and Liquor, or we take over and it's Legions and Liquor. I think I've missed maybe 2 shows in the past few years. Like they know me well over there. I am on Instagram at cloud_network. It was a nickname an old coworker at Sony gave me. He would call me Cloud Network. But I'm really trying to get full head on into the figure photography. I've been very inspired by, especially like with a lot of the new Mythic Legions. So I've been trying to kind of keep up with that. And then Facebook, Cloud Foxwell. I'm in the Cabal all the time. I'm part of the admin team, and I try to keep things civil in there.
Nice. I didn't know you were part of the admin team. Now I know when I have a problem with Curtis, I know who to go to.
Yeah, I got you.
I have never had a problem with Curtis. I love that dude. I've never had a problem. Cool, awesome. Well, thank you for that. We'll make sure we'll put the socials down, make sure everybody knows how to find you online. So let's get into the back half of the questions. Do you collect anything else besides action figures?
I'm gonna say music. It is actually my first love. I have music playing right now. I always have music on or some kind of sound. I think it's like a weird tick. I can't sit in silence. But music is incredibly powerful for me. I'm fairly particular about the bands I like, the genres I like. I listen to a very broad category of things, but it has to have something that speaks to me. Lots of heavy and death metal, lot of instrumental rock, like post rock and gent and stuff like that. But it's got to have a charm. But it's one of the most important things to me. So I still buy CDs. I don't know how many I have. I think before our last move, I was somewhere between 600 and 700, and I've gotten plenty of more since then. I have a modest vinyl collection, really just like some special, like a print or a color. And then my top 3 bands, I have all of their records. I have 2 electric guitars. I have an electric bass. I have an acoustic guitar, and I have a drum kit. I cannot live without music. If I had to give up collecting and only focus on that, I'm gonna be upset, but I'd be okay because I still have my music. So I'm gonna go with that.
What are your top 3 favorite bands?
So, and they're all in line with each other because it's hard to pick. There is a post-rock band from Germany called Long Distance Calling. They're about like 95% instrumental rock. So it's good to just kind of have on. There is a death metal band from Finland called Insomnium. Lots of like heavy raw emotion in it. They have like the growling, and then they have like clean singing, acoustic, piano, string instruments. Very, very powerful stuff. And then another German band, Disillusion. Hard to really kind of compare them to anybody. They kind of stand out on their own. I was working for a record store many years ago, and we would get promotional CDs just in our break room. I recognized the label. I picked up the CD. It was incredible. Fell in love with these guys. Their lead singer, guitar player, Andy Schmidt, is one of my Facebook friends now, which was fangirl moment. But those are the 3, and those are the ones that like I have all of their stuff on disc. I have all the stuff on vinyl.
That's amazing. Yeah, I am not the least bit musically inclined, but I love music. I love lo-fi. I love jazz. I love probably rap and hip hop is probably my favorite. I'm very vanilla with my music, but I am kind of like scatterbrained and all over the place with my likes. But we have a very musical family. My wife played flute throughout high school and college and marching band. Still plays. My oldest son is a fantastic pianist, even at 14. Like, he just amazes me. He also plays guitar. My middle son plays drums in the band. He also plays piano. He also plays guitar. Yeah, I mean, and my house is never quiet. It's never quiet. It's always like when they get home, it's just filled with music. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. I mean, we get that from my father's side. Apparently, my mother is convinced that our artistic abilities, my brother and I have a younger brother, 2 years, and we are incredibly creative people. I also write, I draw, but we're both very musically inclined. He picked up a guitar, I think, at age 16, and taught himself how to play it. And he is
Mm.
unbelievable. And I started with the guitar and I didn't like the guitar. So at 18, I got a drum kit and just taught myself how to play. I'd love to learn piano. It's a beautiful instrument. We're kind of those types that if we sit with something for a few minutes, we can figure out how to make it sound good. But it's my first love.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, my son had never touched a piano. My oldest son, Zachary, he's 14. He had never touched a piano before 2 years ago. And he said, I want to take piano in seventh grade band. We're like, go for it,
Yeah.
And literally within 2 months, he was playing piano. And 4 months right before Christmas, he was playing a solo in their Christmas concert. I was just blown away. Like, I just don't know how he does it. It's incredible. It blows me away. Let's see here. Cool. What I feel like I have to preface this question when I'm speaking to somebody who's such a Mythic Legions fan. So I always have to say, like, what is the pre-order that you're most looking forward to this year? But I have to preface it by saying, besides the dragon, because I don't think you can be like a Mythic Legions fan and like not be looking forward to that dragon.
I am. Surprisingly enough, I've been so on the fence about Beathir. It's a matter of figuring out where he's going to go.
Right,
I think I can afford to go in at least. We'll see. I think my wife expects it. So I told her, I'm like, I don't know if I want it. She's like, are you kidding me? But honestly, All-Star 6, which is strange because those are two of my least favorite factions, is Necro and Aetheron. And Aetheron because I don't like the Holy Knights, but the figures are just gorgeous. And then getting certain Necronominus characters in hand, you see like what we're in store. So characters like Sir Enoch and Thrasis, the first risen, gorgeous. And I cannot wait for those. It was my very first all-in, so it's going to be the first time I just get a box and it's just done and I have everything.
Nice.
So I'm going to go with and it's soon. It's relatively soon.
Yeah,
so
relatively soon.
Wait for that.
Yeah, All-Star 6, or as I like to call it, Necronominus Jr.
Necronominus 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, exactly. So this is my favorite part of the show, like when we get into these questions, because it's a lot of fun speculation kind of stuff, and I really dig this because this is the part that I really get to test your sort of like your imagination here. So what is a figure or a line that has not been announced but you would love to see made?
This is okay. You know what? No, because somebody's doing it. I'm gonna go with when early to mid 90s. There was a game that came over called Bloody Roar. It was a fighting game, and you had your human characters that like your special went up, and they turned into big like animal kind of creatures. It was one of the only fighting games outside of like Darkstalkers or Street Fighter that I was like really, really good at. Like I suck at these games, but I was awesome at Bloody Roar. I'd love to see somebody grab that line, and because they're very toyetic, like they're very colorful. You've got a wolf, you've got a tiger, you've got a bunny. Like I think it's just so obscure. I think so few people know about it. It's rare that I meet someone's like, oh yeah, I remember that. But I'd love to see somebody do Bloody Roar. I was gonna go with Darkstalkers, but I think Storm's kind of touching on that.
Right. Yeah, I think they've got I know they've got at least one they've got Morrigan, right? She's come out already.
So they've got I have Dimitri, and yes,
Dimitri,
Morrigan
that's right. That's right, the other one. That's right.
They're so big.
Yeah.
Like again, I want that 1/12 scale. They did show that in their new arena line, the smaller scale, that they did have the Darkstalkers, I guess, planned. And I'm hoping we see something maybe at Toy Fair. So I just want a good 1/12 scale Morrigan figure so bad.
Yeah, she's pretty incredible for sure. I know that there's a new line that I've seen at Walmart that is doing like Final Fight or Fatal Fury. I always get those two confused, but it's like there's like it was like a side-scrolling beat 'em up, and they've got like it's some weird. They're very obscure video game characters, and it seems like maybe that would fit in line, but they're not really well made. So I hope they don't get it.
No, I think I know, like they've got like Altered Beast characters.
It's Altered Beast and Streets of Rage. Those are the two that they have. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. I feel like they could get better. They could be done better somewhere, but it's cool to see the representation, I guess.
Yeah. There was a fighting game that came out around the time that Mortal Kombat came out, but it was not realistic at all. It was very cartoony. and gosh, what was it? It was called Eternal Champions. Do you
Eternal
remember that game?
Champions. I was just talking about that like 2 days ago with somebody. Nobody
Oh my
remembers
god,
this game.
I loved that game. The characters were insanely creative. It was
Yeah.
all sprite based art like Street Fighter, but it was super bloody and gory and violent,
Yes.
and it all.
Yes.
I don't remember them having like they didn't have like fatalities like Mortal Kombat, but they had like stage deaths. Like
Exactly.
you had to kill somebody in
Yep.
the right position of the stage, like right in front of like a train station doorway,
Yep.
and then like a train would come by and squish them, and or
Yeah.
something like that. And I loved that game. It was hard, but I loved it
It
as a
was,
kid.
yeah.
Like very, yeah. I would love to see somebody make some Eternal
That would be
Champions
cool
figures.
too.
Okay, sweet. If you could take, I love this question. It's so fun. If you could take a toy license away from one current toy company and give it to another toy company, who would it be and what would it be?
Okay, easy. Storm Collectibles, Darkstalkers. I wanted to go to Jada.
Oh, done. Done.
That's it.
Oh
I
my
want them.
gosh.
I was talking about that since Street Fighter was in their third figure. I'm like, oh man, you know, it would be great if they did Darkstalkers. They would do it such good. And then Storm's like, well, we're doing the 112 scale. It's like, yeah, that's fine. But these guys would like wipe the floor with you, I think. That's like my dream.
And
line
I
right
don't
there.
think that this is out of the realm of possibility either, because, you know, Jada has been doing the 1/12 scale Street Fighter stuff in stores, and then Storm is now doing the 1/12 scale Street Fighter. So clearly there's no conflict there. They're both doing 1/12 scale Street Fighter.
Just pick a game, you know, like
Yeah.
Jada did Ultra Street Fighter 2, and then Storm's doing the Alpha series, which is incredibly
Right.
different, tons of different looks and characters. Give
Mhm.
one of them Darkstalkers, give the other like Darkstalkers 3 or something. Like maybe there's only certain characters.
Hands
you
down.
can play.
God, you just literally ruined my life, because this is not something that has been announced, but is now, I've never even thought about it, but now I have to have this happen. This has to happen. God, I hope Jada is watching. That
Oh, man.
needs to happen, because I never really got into Darkstalkers like at all, but I would draw those characters as a kid all day long. I would just sit and look at game art and draw them.
Yes.
The characters are so fun.
That's the draw, is like, yes, it's another like Capcom fighting game, and the game's okay, but I've got like stacks of art books because the characters are beautiful. Like the vampire, the merman, the Sasquatch, the
Mhm.
Frankenstein's creature, all of them, they're so vibrant, they're so unique, and that's what draws, and it makes them incredibly toyetic. They would just look so good on a shelf, and I want them all on my wall.
My life is ruined. It's ruined. I won't be able to think of anything else. That's a great answer. That's probably the best answer that I have ever heard on this show. That is amazing. Probably already know the answer to this, but what's your favorite Toy Con and why?
Legion's Con, because it's the only one I go to.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I always
I-
say it's like a family reunion.
It is. That's part of the charm. Like, it's cool going there and seeing, like, you know, like a lot of people I know go there and they're excited to visit the Horseman's table, and I was too, like to go and get the exclusives. But then it's, you know, it's an art gallery of like these incredibly talented individuals, and then yes, people you only know as like a screen name or a thumbnail. You get to see these people and spend time with them. Like the con itself is only a fraction of it. It's everything else around there. But I mean, I've never really been big on conventions. We've got a local Long Island retro game festival that I've been to a couple times. I helped a friend work a table, and it was interesting. And I love video games, but it doesn't have like that same spark to it. It's also nice and close. I can drive there. Like I have my wife's parents live in Florence, so it's about a 2-hour drive. We saw them, and then we drove up to the convention. So if it was in a different state, or I don't know that I'd go, but it's an experience. Legion's Con is amazing, and I've got a lot of new friends that are new to the line, and I really hope they make it this year.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Going my first year, I saw so many people that I only knew as a screen name, and then I met so many friends there that I met there for the very first time.
Yep.
Are you hungry? Was that your stomach or my stomach?
Oh,
Just
did you
kidding.
hear that? That was a motorcycle.
That's crazy. I was like, man, I'm hungry. I probably should have a snack. I'm feeling kind of peckish. Yeah, I met a lot of friends there just in line that I was like, I didn't even know them from the Cabal. And now we're like good friends that we chat with all the time, like in Instagram chats or Facebook
Best
Messenger
art,
groups.
best
And
art. Yeah.
yeah, it's absolutely incredible. I've been to a bunch now. I really love going to Heroes Con in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it is it's probably the premier, like largest comic cons for art and artists. You're going to find a ton of vendors selling toys and action figures. Of course, you're going to find I mean, I can't even count the number of Funko Pops that are assembled in this one area that weekend. But it is also like they don't have panels. We're not bringing in Star Trek actors. They're not doing any of that stuff. There's no celebrities unless they're comic book based celebrities. So
Right.
it is, you literally can go and buy a blank cover comic and then go and find your favorite comic book artist. They're probably there, and have them sketch you something. Then take that and take it to your favorite inker and have them ink over it. And then go find your favorite colorist and have them color it. Like,
That's awesome.
you probably end up paying $300 for that book,
Oh,
but
yeah.
you'll have something that is by your three favorite people that may not have ever worked together before in their lives.
Yeah.
And they've created something special just for you. And for the most part, I find that with a few exceptions, all of these comic book creators, artists, writers, they're all super nice. I've had a couple of that bad experiences, but if you love comic book art and you're into the art side of comic book collecting, go to that show. It's incredible. And they welcome people like me who is independent and, just trying to make their way in the world. And more, like the Four Horsemen just started showing there, like, I believe 2 years ago. Sparrow is there. Savage Crucible is there. Like they're getting some big name toy companies that are coming and showing at this show, and it's getting bigger and bigger. So you ever get a chance to find yourself, and Charlotte is also a beautiful town. It's also a beautiful city.
Yeah. I lived
It's
in
gorgeous.
I lived in Somerville, South Carolina for a few years when I was younger.
Oh, okay.
And then we had friends up by Charlotte, so we'd go there and then we'd tour the little towns and stuff from there. So yes,
yeah,
very
it's
nice.
Beautiful. Place. Nice. Do you have any collecting regrets? Did you ever get rid of something you wish you hadn't gotten rid of, or?
Yeah, a couple. I had, maybe my favorite film of all time is Hellraiser. And it's a weird one. I love the Cenobites. I love the book. I love Clive Barker. I think he's a genius. He's one of the reasons that I still bother wanting to write. Fell in love. I saw it. I might have been a little too young to be watching this film, but I saw it at a very young age, and I was just like, this is doing things to my brain.
We didn't have PG-13 back then. There was no PG-13. It was like, it was either G or R. That's it.
Jaws was PG or G or something. It was ridiculous. So
terrified.
Favorite film is Hellraiser, and then NECA started doing the figures years ago, long time ago, and I had a statue, maybe like this, of Pinhead, and he was holding the box out, and I had to sell it to make rent. And I still wish I had that, because it was like, I must have spent nearly $200 on it. I think I made a little bit more back from that, but I am like, I was struggling. I had no choice. It's either sell the statue, because you can't take it with you if you're sleeping in bus stations again. So I let it go, but I do wish I could get that back.
Is it crazy expensive on the aftermarket now?
Yeah, I've got all sorts of Hellraiser stuff right on my desk.
Oh, nice. I had never watched a Hellraiser movie ever in my life until like 2 years ago, and that one came out on like Hulu or Netflix. I don't remember where it was.
Oh,
like,
the newer one,
reboot. Yeah, that's the first one I've ever. It's actually to this day still the only one I've ever seen.
It's a good one, and it's got more elements of the novella. Like in Clive's story, the Cenobites usually appear feminine. Like, he doesn't say that they're women, but they're very feminine. And then to have a transgender woman play the lead Cenobite was unbelievable, amazing. But she did a great job. The designs were closer to how they're described in the Hellbound Heart. If anybody's watching this and they have not read the Hellbound Heart, it's small. It's a very, very quick read. It is great. You can see where they pulled from that for the Hellraiser movie, but it's entirely different. Like, the way he writes is just, I could go on. I could go on.
Yeah, no, I
Parker,
feel you. I'll have to put that on my list of reading and see if I can ever get to it one day.
it's a
I
quick
just
read.
started the Game of Thrones novels late last year,
Well, yeah.
and so I'm knee deep. I'm almost done with the very first book, so I'm ready to. I think I want to read Hedge Knight, the 3 little novellas that make up the Hedge Knight series next, because that show is going to be starting this fall. So
that's right.
I want to finally read something of Game of Thrones that I've read the thing before the show comes out. It hasn't happened yet. Here's a fun question: has a friend or anybody ever gotten you into collecting a line that you otherwise were not interested in?
Yeah, Trevor Williams.
Oh.
So all right. So it's not I joke, but it's not entirely his fault. What happened was, I think I got the Krampus as like literally just something to display during the holidays, and that didn't work out because he's up there all year.
Right.
But I showed my wife. I'm like, this is really cool. These are the guys that make those fantasy figures. I'm like, all right, we'll get it. We'll check it out. And then getting it, I was like, wow, these are really good. And then the next year they did the Headless Horseman. I was like, oh, done, sold. So while we were waiting for them to ship, I was on Dan Who's Legends and Liquor with Trevor Williams, and he was like, oh, I think he had just gotten his, and I was still waiting. He's like, depending on where you live, it might take longer. I'm like, well, I'm in Long Island. He's like, what town are you in? I'm like, what town are you in? He turns out he lives like 10 minutes away. And he's like, oh, that's great. So we kind of connected, and I started following his work a bit more. And I'm just like, this guy's really good at what he does. And it was a lot of Mythic Legion stuff. And he got me an Artemis Silvercord version 2. He got me some of my early, he gifted me my very first Malleus. So it was just downhill from there. So
Trevor is such a wonderful human being. I love him.
He is. He's fantastic. I love him. I wish I could see him more. He's so busy. I feel so bad for him. He's always doing something. But I think not too long ago we caught up and we had lunch with Stefan from Detour Customs. We all went and had burgers, and we just hung out and chat. And it was great.
Gosh.
And he's so easy to talk to. But it's
all right. I'm gonna move to Long Island. I'm gonna move to Long Island, move my whole family up there, and just hang out with you guys.
So
I don't know.
expensive up here.
I bet it's getting expensive everywhere. All right. So you mentioned earlier, if I had to get rid of it all, I'd go back to music. So if you had to sell it all, but you could only keep one line, what would it be?
I'd keep my Mythic Legions, and
I figured that's where we were going.
Because I love Marvel, and I love having the representations of these characters. Like, I have horrible abandonment issues, so something I like, I can keep it with me forever. That's part of why I collect. So that's why nostalgia hits me so hard. It's like, oh, this thing that I love, and now I can have it. But it's with Mythic Legions comes the community, the friends I've made, getting into photography and starting to get serious about that, and it inspiring me to draw again. So there's so much more than just having these toys, and I'd like to have those and continue with that line. So that's the reason I would pick it, not just because they're prettier, but there's so much more that comes with that line.
All right, house is on fire. You can only grab one figure. What you grabbing?
I thought about this a lot, because my first, when I heard you tell this to Trevor, I was like, oh, my Wolverine, my very first one.
Absolutely.
But I thought about it, and I'm going to cheat, because I'm going to go over and just run out with this one piece, so I got them both.
That's perfectly fine. I allowed that with Nikki Nicole. She said, I'm grabbing a custom. It was this knight that she did on a horse that she painted.
That was awesome.
She's like, this is what I'm grabbing. And I'm like, I'll allow it.
Take it.
Trevor killed me. He was awesome, because he's like, yeah, it's no toy. I'm grabbing this Darth Vader helmet. I can't replace it.
The helmet, right?
Yeah. And I'm like, that's a great answer. That's awesome. And then Darius, he hit me in the feels. He goes, nothing. I'm grabbing my wife and my cats.
And you were like, yo, your wife and your cats are fine. What else? He's like, nothing. It's not
nothing. No, I can buy it all over. And I'm like, dude,
you're killing me.
Give me a break, man. I'm just trying. I'm trying hard. I probably know the answer to this already, but it's how I like to wrap up the show. What is your favorite thing about collecting action figures?
This.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's this. I've collected I'm going to be 43 soon, so 40 years of collecting toys. It's always brought me such joy, but it's the people I've met, hanging out, just being a geek. Because like my wife she's a collector, but it's limited to what she actually cares about, and she does not want to hear me sit and talk about this shit. Like, oh, well, the dragon this and Mythic Legion that. And she's just, I can hear her eyes rolling back in her skull.
Same.
But so it's nice to be able to sit and just like people that get it, people that appreciate it.
Yeah,
that's easily my favorite bit.
Well, it's really I know that's almost always universally going to be everybody's answer, but I always want to ask because I think that's going to be the answer. And I always think about the fact that when we were little kids, collecting toys was not something that made you weird. Everybody did it. Everybody did it. All of your friends played with toys and you played together, and it was something that you could experience within your own mind and playing in front of you. And you were sharing like imaginations and made up stories. And it was so awesome and beautiful and intimate, and it's fleeting because eventually that goes away. And then when you continue on collecting action figures, you're like weird or a nerd or a geek, and that's kind of frowned upon. And, like not like in Japan where it's completely common. I mean, they've got an entire city built around collecting toys and stuff, or a whole district, and it's completely common. But then then you're the weirdo, and then so like you get to go back and you get to find all these people that are just like you and that love it just as much as you do, and then it's back to being a kid again. We're sharing stories and love and imagination and all of this back again. And so I think it's a beautiful thing. I don't think it's a weird thing at all, but it's just how it is sometimes. But I love it. Yeah, that's my favorite thing about this too, is to me, it's getting to know the people, and it's the nostalgia. It's like that time travel. It's like I can pick up a figure that is a remake of something I had when I was 10, and I'm 10 years old again. I'm not 48. And I get to escape this crazy world that we all live in, even just for a little bit of time. So look at that. That's beautiful. My favorite G.I. Joe is Alpine. So I still have my old Alpine and I have my new one, and I love it. Let me ask you one last thing. I meant to bring this up earlier when you mentioned Big Boa, and then I got off on something else. Just today, I don't know if you saw, but Hasbro announced the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive is the 4-pack of this.
Yes.
Yeah. The Slither. What is it?
Cold Slither.
Cold Slither. And it's all of them in their rock and the guitars in the back. I mean, come on. You got to be getting it, right?
I think I need that.
Yeah, it's going to be on Pulse. So if you don't make it to San Diego Comic-Con, don't worry about it. Get it on Pulse. Don't pay the high prices. Because I have a friend of mine he lives in LA, and he went to San Diego Comic-Con last year for the very first time. And he's like, it's impossible to get an exclusive. Everything is a lottery system. If you don't win the lottery, you can't even get in line. And it's maddening. And you got to like stay like in one spot for like 8 hours. Like nobody wants to do that. So yeah, I'm so down for that, because Zartan's my favorite G.I. Joe of all time. And just to get him with the hair and the pants, I'm so down for that.
It's so 80s and it's so cheese, and I love it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Must have. So thank you so very much, Cloud, for being on the show. I knew this was going to be a super fun experience. It's been literally, it's the highlight. Well, it will be the highlight of my week. You're somebody, like I said, I've wanted to get to know and sit down and talk to and pick your brain for so long. So I really appreciate this so very much. Could you run through your socials one more time, and we'll drop them down below so everybody can find you?
Sure. I am on Instagram at @cloud_network. I'm on Facebook, Cloud Foxwell. I think I'm the only Cloud Foxwell. And then you can catch me on Legends and Liquor with Dan Hu and those maniacs every other Sunday.
Well, I'm going to definitely start tuning in for that, because Dan Hu is he's the king of toy reviews, and I really appreciate listening to you and listening to your insight and all that. So thank you so much again for doing this. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching. I super appreciate it. Please continue to check us out over on Instagram at Saturday Morning Toy Collector. I am your Saturday Morning Toy Collector, Mark, and I'll see you in the Toy House.